Welcome to the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. Have you ever wondered how people succeed in real estate and what steps they took to get there? If so, this podcast is for you. Your hosts, Sayla and Eileen Prack, interview top experts in the real estate community to share with you their real estate journey and how they achieved massive success. Our goal is to provide you with valuable real estate resources and to help you apply it to your own real estate goal. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of the How Did They Do It Real Estate Podcast. I'm your host, Eileen Prack, and today we are joined by Coach Bob Miller, and he is the president of Real Estate Donations USA, RED, where their mission is to raise money for charities and causes in need through the purchase and resale of most types of real estate, utilizing the IRS Section 170 bargain sale process. And so I'm super excited to have him join us on the show today, share a little bit more about his organization, what they're doing in this space, how they are impacting the world and the communities out there. So Bob, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome.
Thank you, Eileen. I really appreciate you having me on. I'm very, very, very excited to be on with you, to share the good work that we're doing and present real estate in a whole different way than most people are used to. Real estate from a charity point of view. People go, I don't understand that. So I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for having me as your guest.
Absolutely. No, this is going to be really interesting because, like you mentioned, when people think of real estate and charities, those two don't typically go together. So looking at this from a different perspective and how you're able to do it. But first, if you can share a little bit more about your background, and that would be fantastic.
I would be more than happy to. Born and raised here in Detroit. And I started out, I have a degree in economics from the University of Detroit. And I started out like a lot of us in corporate America with a Fortune 50 company. And I worked there in the sales area for about 11 or 12 years. And then I moved on into some other things, environmental and that. And then I spent part-time as a deputy mayor here in Redford Township. And so I spent some time doing that. And what I found my whole life, Eileen, is really what I really like to do is help people. I tell people when you're having a bad day, because I don't have bad days. I have some that are not as good as others, but I don't have bad days. I said, go help somebody without asking for anything in return and watch how your day turns around. It happens to me all the time. So about 15 years ago, and I was a commercial real estate broker. I've sold residential real estate, but I wanted to take real estate and find a way how I could take real estate, make a living doing it, but help people along the way. That was my calling from God. That's a mission that I went through. And I'll tell you, it wasn't the easiest thing in the world. You know, you fall and you fall and you fall. And to this day, people say, what do you do again exactly? How does this thing work? And so I started this thing. And so 15 years ago, and people would donate some old crummy houses, investment houses that they didn't want anymore for a tax break. And then we'd resell them for a little bit of money, and money would go to charity. To date, we're probably, I want to say over $5 million that we've raised for different charities. And I don't know one person that's raised $1 million. So I'm really proud of that, but I'm not even close to being done yet because there's so many people that are in need. And so that's how I got started in it, with a purpose and a calling that said, you need to keep helping people. And so that's what I continued to do with this, with my Real Estate Donations USA, or RED, as we call it, RED.
Wow.
That's how I started.
$5 million. Congratulations. That is a huge feat.
Well, thank you. And I've helped so many charities. I have a particular toward homeless veterans. Do a lot with homeless veterans, firefighters with occupational cancer, and a lot with Diabetes Association. I'm a type 2, and I've been a type 2, and I'm on a board of directors at a local hospital. So I help young kids understand dangers of diabetes and what you got to watch what you eat, and you got to exercise and watch your sugar and all that. But thank you very much. It's a never-ending mission. And I hope that one day I'm done with about 200 million, but we'll see.
So for you, how did you align those two callings and missions in life of wanting to help and support those in need? And how did you choose, or why did you decide that real estate was going to be the vehicle to help you get there?
I decided real estate because I was good at it. Everybody's got a calling. Everybody has a rainbow. Everybody has it. And you have to find it and understand it. And so if people look and go, whatever they're good at, doing podcasts, painting walls, whatever they're good at, that's a gift. And that gift you need to develop. So I liked real estate. I did pretty well at it. But you know what, Aileen, I got to tell you, no matter how much money I made, I wasn't happy. It was great. It pays the bills. It's great and all that. But there was more to like. So when you do a nonprofit, your why has got to be greater than the money. It's got to be greater than the money. And the money's always nice and all that, but you're not going to take any of it with you. And so I took my real estate and said, now, how can I do this? How can I do this? And I worked on this, Eileen, a long, long time, figuring out how to do it. And through help with an attorney, I set up a 501c3 nonprofit. So I named it, how about Real Estate Donations USA? It's pretty clear what you do. And that's how I started aligning the mission. And then I had to determine, okay, now how is this going to work? So people, you got to get the word out so people will donate real estate, which is tough to do sometimes. You have to have investors who will buy it from you. You got to have title companies. You have to have attorneys. So there's a whole system and a loop on how to do this that I feel pretty comfortable that I'm getting pretty good at it after so many years. And then it evolved into this IRS Section 170 bargain sale. People go, well, what the heck is that? Right? This thing I found on my own. Okay. This thing was passed by Congress in 1919. This was passed when Woodrow Wilson was president. This was passed so people could get a tax deduction. You know, you take your clothes to the Salvation Army then you couldn't get a deduction. So they changed this. And so they came up with the same thing with real estate. And basically what they said, Aileen, and this is the simple concept of what I do. If you own a piece of property and out there, let's say $1 million property, let's say you own $1 million property, okay? And then you can sell your property to me, only an IRS 501c3, say for $500,000, and you go, well, I don't want to do that. But you get a $500,000 tax deduction with it. So you'll get the full $1 million. Now, a lot of people in California are high earners. They make a lot of money. And so if you go by the concept, it's not how much you make, it's how much you get to keep. A lot of real estate now is turned into a business strategy. It's not like the old days, just go put a sign on your lawn and sell your house. Now it's a strategy. Now business owners say, well, what am I paying in capital gains taxes here if I sell this? And then they say, well, I can turn this in and I can do a 1030 tax exchange. All you're doing is deferring your taxes down the road. With the program here, you eliminate taxes. You eliminate them. And so what number is it that we use to buy? It depends. So if you're the owner of that house, I'm going to talk to you about your needs. We're going to talk about what works for you. We see a $500,000 might not work. Maybe it's $750,000 and a $250,000 tax deduction. But the key to this whole thing is once we purchase the property from you for say $500,000, I have an investor right here that'll buy it for $750,000 from me. So now that's where the margin to $250,000 margin will come. That goes to charity. That's how the money goes to charity. So you take the gross profit on it. Okay, that goes to charity because even though we're a nonprofit, I run it like a for-profit. You got to run it like a business or you're going to go out of business, which I mentioned to you at the top of the show. We talked about 40% of charities have gone out of business. They couldn't afford to stay in business because of COVID. Every charity usually does 2 fundraisers a year, right? There's a big dinner, a gala, there's a golf outing. They couldn't do that for 3 years. So they were out of business. And so I run mine a little bit different, and God bless them. I hope they all come back because we need more. And so the simplicity of our model is we are guaranteeing every single seller of real estate 100% value, 100% the appraised value of the property, no matter what. We just work on the cash. Well, how much cash do you really need? And then how much do you need in a tax deduction? By the time I close on your house, we're in the title company and we're closing on your house. I've already moved to the next table and I've already resold it. Because I have equity partners. So I have partners that I have ones that buy malls and repurpose malls that are closed or little strip shopping centers because Amazon's put a lot of people out of business. But if people buy those, I have people that want to buy industrial, office, medical, whatever. And so it's a win-win-win for everybody. The investor's buying a property from me and walking in on your house with $250,000 equity. You're happy because you've eliminated capital gains tax and you just put $500,000 in the bank. So you're happy. The charity, the veterans, we just housed 4 veterans that were on the street. Now they're in a housing facility. And so really everybody wins at this thing. There's no, well, we win, but they, and we're going to go out, we're going to try to cut them and we're going to, lower the price and try to come in cheap. We don't do that. So I work directly with my people, and I have a partner, commercial broker, Rachel Shelley. They are absolutely the best. They're out of Tampa, Florida. They're called the Sire Group, and I love them to death. And they help me procure all of these things because it takes a village. You need a team. You called me coach. I was a high school baseball. I'm a son of a professional athlete. My dad played pro baseball for 10 years. And so I grew up on sports. I know the importance of working as a team. Nobody can do anything alone. So I have a great team behind me. And so this process has really been successful, Eileen. And if you look at in today's world, many landlords, people that own office buildings, a lot of people working at home now. What am I going to do with this office building? What do I do with it? There's nobody here. And then the companies are going, I'm not paying $20,000 a month rent anymore. I got nobody there. So what's going to happen to that market? What happened? Well, they'll come to me and they'll say, look, how much would you give us for this building in a tax deduction? And so then we can guarantee them 100% full value. And I have people will come in and repurpose those office buildings. Maybe they'll make them lofts. Maybe they'll make them apartments or condos, things like that. So everything's getting repurposed and reused, which is great. So that's how the system works. I hope I didn't ramble on too much, but I get so excited by it because I'm being able to help so many charities with this.
That's fantastic, because what you said was you're still able to guarantee the 100% of the value of the property. So the seller's not losing on the value there. They're able to take the tax deductions of those losses between what you're purchasing it for and what the value of the property is. And then you're taking that and selling it to another investor and then making a little spread off of that, which then goes to charity. Wow.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And everybody wins at this thing. And, very transparent upfront, tell people how the system works. Here's how it's going to benefit you. And the investors love me because they're buying everything at a lower price and they can buy it for themselves. And the only reason is because I'm a 501c3 nonprofit in good standing. We just closed on a Pizza Hut in Louisville, Kentucky. I have under contract in, I want to say Searcy, Arkansas. There's a Dollar Tree combination Planet Fitness. If it was for $5 million. So there's more and more of this going on. There's more and more and more because it's a solution for people. You see, in commercial real estate, and I was one, which I would like to see it change and become more diverse. Tell you the truth, it's not a diverse industry, in my opinion, because I was in it. And a lot of them get this mindset, well, this is the only way you can do real estate. This is the only way. Put it in a box, and that's the only way. But it's not the only way to do real estate. And if you're truly thinking about your customer, if you're thinking about what's best for your customer, then this is something you should be approaching because you're getting paid the same commission. What's the difference? And we can close faster. So it's a very exciting thing. IRS Section 170, bargain sale. It's called a bargain sale. It's been around since 1919, but nobody utilizes it.
You also mentioned you're set up as a 501c. Can you elaborate on what that one is?
There's two things. So some people say they're a nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit. There's a difference between a nonprofit and a 501c3. A 501c3 is designated by the IRS. You have to go through stacks of form like that thick to be approved, but you can only imagine being approved by the IRS as an approved charity. And there's a lot more. So with that, you can take a tax deduction. With a nonprofit, you might not be able to get the tax deduction. You can help them and say, here's $500 I want to give to you to help out. But if they're not a 501c3, the chance of you getting a tax deduction. So I have it, the 501c, it's for people to make sure they get the maximum tax deduction allowed. And they can use this tax deduction for 6 years. They get 6 years. They don't have to use it all 1 year.
Oh,
they can use it over 6 years.
And they're able to split up the deductions year over year. Yes. They don't have to take it all at one time.
Right. So next year they go, well, I need about this much this year. Next year I'm planning a big project or something. We're going to make a lot of money. Then I'm going to take a certain percent of it and I'm going to apply it to next year. And so they can use it over a 6 year period. It's really terrific for the sellers, investors, the charities. It's a great system. Sounds easy, but believe me, like everything else, it's not easy to set up. I dare somebody to set it up and try to do this. It's hard. It's hard because you're going to get properties that are environmentally contaminated. Well, what about a gas station? Well, what about a dry cleaner? What about, some, and I look at all properties. I understand environmental. And if we can take, I mean, look at it this way. If we can take a closed, environmentally tainted property and we can get it back on the tax rolls, we can get that thing either back on the market for something, create jobs, make it whatever, a donut shop or whatever. That's all for the better. And you're eliminating blight. You're, creating jobs. And that's what we need to do. And so we're doing a lot of that too. So we will look at any properties. We look at vacant land, some vacant land right now in Texas, we're looking at selling. I got one in Charlotte, North Carolina. So it can be any type of property. It can be. I stay away from residential unless it's 400,000 or 500,000 plus.
So I can totally agree that this concept is very complicated. Just finding the 170 bargain sale law and legislation that goes behind it was already a challenge in itself for you to be able to find that, but to understand how the ins and outs and mechanics of it and putting something like this together is I can only imagine how complicated the process would be. So for investors who discover you and what the benefits there are by utilizing this asset or this vehicle, as they get along in the process, it seems pretty straightforward as you explain it. There's a lot of complications behind the process about it. But what is the typical, biggest questions that they have as they go through this process with you through the sale and then the transition and everything like that? Is there a typical common question that kind of reoccurs?
Probably the biggest one is, how do I benefit from this? I've never heard of this thing. And so now I'm going to deal with the president of the company. I'm going to deal with his CPA and I'm going to deal with his attorney, because they're going to say, well, wait a minute here. Let me run this by my attorney to see if this is right. And then let me go talk to my CPA. Most CPAs don't know about it either. And then so they got to look it up. And it's as real as the day is long, believe me. And so that's probably the biggest thing, other than how quick can you close, is probably the biggest thing. They want more understanding. My number one biggest challenge is education, by far. Once I talk to people like you, and I can explain this thing, properties that we've done. I have a local building here in the township where I reside. It was sort of functionally obsolete. It was a 2-story building, 20% occupied. He was an older man, kind of wanted to get out of it, didn't want to put money into rehabbing the building. It was appraised at $600,000 and he wanted $600,000. But I said, you're not going to get $600,000, but I will offer you $400,000 with a $200,000 tax deduction. And after he ran through his CPA, he said, I'll do that deal. So we did that deal. We turned around and sold it for $500,000, and we helped a lot of people in charity. That building today is 100% rehabbed and occupied, 100%. So it's been repurposed. But like this gentleman said, and he was an older guy, he said, I'd never heard of this. What is this? What are you talking about? Is this smoke and mirrors? Does the government know about this? Yeah, the government did this. It just, see, the real challenge, why doesn't everybody get into this? And believe me, a lot of colleges and universities do this. University of Michigan uses this a lot, because one of their biggest benefactors is a guy named Stephen Ross, who owns the Miami Dolphins. And he's a big real estate mogul. And they do this process to help fund the University of Michigan and their different programs, athletics, and some different things. So there are a few colleges doing this right now. Most of the bigger charities, if you look at Salvation Army, the Red Cross, they are scared of properties. There's a story, the Boy Scouts of America, and people put in their will, I want to donate this land to the Boy Scouts. They can build a camp there for the kids and all that. And it was all great. And so they would just accept a quitclaim deed and the property be donated. It was wonderful until they found out that a majority of them had underground storage tanks and that they were liable for over $200 million worth of environmental issues. And they worked something out. They weren't held liable for it. Most nonprofits are afraid of properties because of liability, environmental, insurance. There's a lot of things that go into it. So a lot of them are afraid of it. And so if some of these charities, believe it or not, they'll call me and go, hey, we have somebody who's interested in donating a property to us. I am the nonprofit that works for Habitat for Humanity in Chicago. So when they get somebody who wants to donate property, they have them call me. And then I'll work it out for them, see if it's good or if it's not good. And so that's why a lot of people don't get into it. But I freaking love it, man. I love it. I understand it, and I've fallen enough times and gotten out. But, there's a real calling I have on helping people get back to that. That's my driving force. I go through obstacles. I'll go right through them because I know at the very end of it, Eileen, somebody's in need. Somebody needs help. So let's do that. And that's been my driving force.
Are there any limitations for someone who's looking to donate a property?
That's a really good question. But here would be the limitation I tell people. Number one, you have to itemize on your taxes. You have to itemize. And number two, you usually got to be a high earner. Okay, because you get like if you're a single mom, things that lady wanted to donate a trailer home, but she already gotten the tax benefit wouldn't have been that much for them. So I make sure. So generally, number one, you have to itemize on your taxes. And number two, generally you got to be, 6-figure income plus for this thing to work for you on your taxes. You got to be in that 30% tax bracket. And then it works for you.
Got it. Well, this is incredible. I think also you mentioned too that one of the other questions that people typically have is how long does this process take from the start when they engage you to the actual sale of it for them?
Really, another really good question. You're asking really, really good questions, and I appreciate that. And I do get that question a lot too. And it really depends on the property. Normally, a lot of times in commercial real estate, it takes longer. Okay, so some deals they'll take 5 months to close. I would like to say if we can get our hands on some of the due diligence things, we ask the seller, can you give us? So we got things that we need too. I've closed them in 30 days or less. But normally, I'd say 30 days to 120 days is fair, and it depends on the property and the motivation of the seller. A lot of times, I'll need information from the seller, and if they delay getting it to me about the property, that's going to delay the process. But every seller can know when they come to us to do this, we're on it right now. We're not going to put this aside. We're going to do it right now. And you can only imagine how busy it gets toward the end of the year when people start thinking about their taxes. The last quarter of the year is usually pretty busy. There are several Christmas days that I've worked and going right up to Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve to get this done, because what they get from me is they get a form called an 8280 form. And what that form is that goes on their taxes to show that's what they turn in with their taxes. Okay. And so I got to get this all done by the end of the year. But generally we move pretty fast.
Awesome.
Just as fast as residential.
So Bob, for you, what are you most excited about next?
That's a really good question too. I want to grow this more. Okay. I want to get into places like California, where the properties and the numbers are bigger, because I can help more people there. I want to bring on more people. I want to bring on more commercial people that have a charitable heart. You know what I mean? I don't want somebody with a cold heart and all that. It's got to be a driving force in you that you do want to be you want to help people. Also, we've diversified a little bit. Now we're accepting cryptocurrency. And so, I always have this thirst for knowledge, even though I may look like an old guy, but I have a thirst for knowledge. And so now we accept cryptocurrency as a donation, and it's treated just like real estate. So my next challenge, I have several properties I'm working on now, but I would like to get into some of the bigger states that we're currently not in and they don't know about it. Texas is just finding out, and everything's bigger in Texas, and they love it down there. So, and that's my thing, and bringing on more people to help us, because I only have two hands. I can only do so much.
There's only
so board of directors.
Yes, there's only so much that you can do on your own. So that's why you're building out a strong team around you to help do more good in the world.
Absolutely. And with people like you, Eileen, and like this podcast, you're doing great work on it. It could only get better with great people like you. It can only get better. So I appreciate you.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you as well for helping and wanting to spread out the word and getting this vehicle out there and just educating other people in the space. So for you, how has real estate investing impacted your life? And I would also want to add to that, how has it impacted, the people that you're looking to serve as well?
Yeah, good questions. It's impacted my life huge. And I'll tell you why. I worked in corporate America for a long time. I don't want to work for somebody else ever again. Okay. You're an entrepreneur. You know what I'm talking about. So I've always gone by the fact that if you don't want to work 9 to 5, plan on working 24/7, because it doesn't go away when you're the owner of the company, right? Am I right? It doesn't go away. But that being said, like I can give you, like this morning, I have a granddaughter who's a good softball player in high school, and they had a tournament near my house. So I was able to go out there this morning and watch her play 2 games. I like freedom. I like to have fun. I still like to go down to Florida and have a good time with my wife and my friends and do stuff. This real estate has allowed me to have the freedom in my life to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, and how I want to do it, while maintaining, your income and the things that you want to do. And also the people that I meet all the time, I meet new charities all the time when I'm out. So it's more of being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it, control the dice yourself. Okay. And I'm very busy. Last night, my wife will tell you, she said, you are printing something off your computer. It's 10:45. I'm like, I know, but I got to get, it's that kind of thing. But if I want to go watch my granddaughter play softball at 10 o'clock this morning, I can go do that. That's been the biggest thing for me. It's not, how much money I make and all, and it's all great. And it's wonderful, but that's not my number one driving force. It's down the line a little bit.
And if there was one thing that you know now about real estate that you wish you knew when you first started, what would that be?
Bargain sales.
I had a feeling.
Bargain sales. I wish I would have known about this. I happened on it myself a few years ago. I was over some holiday or something, and I was away, and I was just playing around real estate and thinking what's new, and I found this. I wish I would have known this. And I wish that younger real estate people that are getting into this will embrace this as another tool in their toolbox. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a big believer in diversity, and it has been a dominated male industry for the most part, not totally. Now, here's a guy that has 8 granddaughters and 3 daughters. So I'm a little particular here.
8 granddaughters and 3 daughters. You are well outnumbered.
I am well outnumbered and happily well outnumbered. But I want opportunities for them, the same as for men or same as for anybody else. And in this commercial real estate industry, I just haven't seen it. There's few, but I haven't seen it. So I'm also constantly striving to change that. Okay, I'm looking to change that. But I wish that I would have known about this bargain sale 10 years ago. I can't. I'm like, this has been around since 1919? For real? And I looked it up. Sure enough, Woodrow Wilson, passed by Congress. I wish I'd have known that. I really do. I would have gone into that. I wouldn't even gone in and tried to sell houses, or I would have gone directly into this because it fits my personal life mission of giving back, of helping people. We have a mission we go by in our company, a statement that you only get to keep in life what you give away. And that's so true. You only keep what you give away. People look at me, and when I was coaching baseball, I tell my kids, I'm going to tell you something at the beginning of the year you're not going to understand, but at the end of the year you will. And I tell them you only keep what you give away. And they're like, Coach, man, are you crazy? What are you talking about? I'm not giving away my money or my this or that or whatever. By the end of the year, after they volunteered weekends to rake leaves for seniors, after they went to serve dinner for veterans and all that, they go, Coach, we know what you're talking about now. I said, take that the rest of your life. Take it with you. Take it with you and keep it. When you do that, think of your old coach. So that's really a driving motivation, for me. But I wish I known about bargain sales years ago, Eileen. I'll tell you that.
And then what is the one thing that sets the successful people apart in real estate?
Probably in life, but especially in real estate. A lot of times you got to have a dog mentality. Okay. You have to be consistent. You have to understand you're going to fail, but you never quit. but you don't quit. You got to keep redoing. Some people will go, oh, I've tried this. It doesn't work. I quit. I'm not making any money. I want to do it. If I'd have done that, I've been out of business 10 years ago. You have to have the type of strong mentality to go through obstacles in your life. You're going to go through them, and you have gone through them, and it will continue. But I don't look at them as obstacles. They are opportunities. They're opportunities to be successful. And if I could get that across to anybody, to have that kind of attitude, and don't take things personal all the time. Don't do it. I don't. Why do you want to do that? Because I've always said, people will ask you, like they did when I started, why are you doing that? When you're successful, they'll go, how did you do that? But that's what I'd say, that dog mentality, I think, is so important. You don't have to be a jerk to people or anything like that, but you need to have selective hearing when people talk to you about different things. You need to find a mentor in your life. Who can you talk to and say, this is what I'm thinking? What do you think? Somebody who's successful, and do that. And I think if you do that and stick to it and don't give up, you're going to have to modify. You're going to have to change your system sometimes. You're going to have to go in a different direction sometimes, but don't ever give up, ever.
Oh, thank you so much, Bob. And thank you so much for sharing all of this and enlightening us to this bargain sales that we have out there. And this different vehicle. And so I'm so grateful that you're able to come onto the show, educate us a little bit. And so also for our listeners out there who are interested in learning more about you, yes, what you're doing, because this is a brand new topic, maybe to most of us out there, yes, and want to learn more, where's the best place that they can go to find out? I'll
give you a couple places you can get a hold of me. I'll give you my email address first. It's just R. Miller, like Robert R. Miller at redusa.us. This is my phone number. Call me or text me. I don't mind. It's area code 248-568-2448. Call me, text me. I'll help you. I'll answer your questions. We have a website. It's just redusa.us, redusa.us, and it will explain. And, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on everything else too. All the socials I'm on. So you'll see us on there too. So I'm easy to find. I'm happy to help you. If I cannot help you, I will tell you I can't help you. I'm not going to sell you any green bananas here. I'm going to tell you I can't help you. Okay. If a person doesn't need a tax deduction, I can't force them to take one. But I'm happy to give people the answers that they're looking for.
Fantastic. Thank you so much again, Bob.
You've been terrific. Thank you so much for having me, and have a blessed weekend. Thank you.
And thank you for listening to our podcast today, brought to you by Bonavest Capital. We would really appreciate it if you can go to iTunes right now and leave a rating and written review. Also, please don't forget to subscribe so you can always get the latest episodes. You can also connect with us on Facebook, How Did They Do It Real Estate. We'd love to hear your feedback and any topics that you're interested in for future episodes. Lastly, to learn more about us, you can go to bonavestcapital.com and fill out the Contact Us page so you can speak to us directly. Nothing on the show should be considered as specific personal advice. Please consult your legal, tax, and real estate professionals for individualized advice.